Well, next up will be our featured speaker, Jack Miles of Village Printing. And going to talk to us about selling, I guess.
I'm going to try to do it without the mic, so if you can't hear me in the back. I have a tendency to have an outside voice inside, so I'm going to take advantage of it. I'd like to welcome you to a presentation on influential selling. Today we'll discuss simple but a very complex method of selling that could help you in all your sales efforts. Not just of a sales effort, but you might be able to use some of this to deal with your mother-in-law or somebody at work when you sit here and be able to communicate better. We'll discuss how to prepare grounds and make your name known before you approach anybody for a sales presentation. We'll also talk about how to build customer relationships, trust, credibility, and how to leverage the relationship for a long-term initial sale. The influential selling process is a steps of, as you see right here, we're just going to work on this one area right here of demand and establishing credibility. Traditional sales cycles have changed over the past 30 years. We're not at the point anymore where we have the time to go in and ask questions. The influential sales process has turned the traditional sales process upside down. A lot of you will probably remember at the ages that we have out here, the traditional sales cycle, we spent a very little time earning credibility, investigating needs, but we spent most of the time negotiating and closing. If you remember, if you were in a sales process 30, 40 years ago, most of the training was, how do I handle an objection? Or how do I close? When they walk in the door, first thing you say is, how do you want to pay for this Visa or MasterCharge? We don't have that technique anymore. The decision makers can view you as a partner by using this process with whom he and she are confronted with problems and exploit their opportunities. Such a salesperson is someone who is called an influential advisor. First thing it is that to break down how the sales process is, there's three basic type of salespeople. The trusted salesperson is someone who a customer has done business with before. The customer knows the salesperson, and they have good products and services, and they have a fair price. This salesperson is a customer who will call. The customer will call again when they need their products and services. Now we have the trusted advisor. You might look at that, and some of you had the aspect of consultative selling that started about 30 years ago, where they got away from that. You just came in, you showed feature and benefits. They stepped up to the consultative selling. This is also told as a trusted salesperson. They go beyond the minimum sale. This person is known to the customer, and his business is well enough to make a recommendation to the business person based on their knowledge. For example, if a customer is having a problem and believe the product and service of the trusted advisor can help them with a recommendation, they get a call. Whether or not they're involved in the sale or not, this is a salesperson that will get called again, and they'll get asked for advice. And that's pretty good when you got that, where someone will pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm having a little problem with a particular product and service that you sell, and they give you a call. Sometimes you might not get the order, but you are somebody that they call. The third level that you would want to try to go to is what we're talking about today, is the influential advisor. They take the next step to assume a mass knowledge first of the customer and the business they're recommending, and center on the area of the customer's business affecting their products and services. For example, if a customer is working on a 5-year plan, the influential advisor may offer recommendations based on trends of that customer's industry. They offer financial alternatives and help with that 5-year program. That would be a good example where they would come in. This is a salesperson a customer would consider as a partner in business and call them whenever they're ready to make an important decision about the future of their particular business. you want to fall into the aspect of this category would be almost like an unpaid employee, a sustaining research where they, instead of going to somebody inside their company, they can go to you and they literally don't have to pay for that advice, but you know that you've set yourself up there that you will probably gain the business. What's the goal of influential selling? Influence. The goal of the influential advisor is really to influence on those business decisions made by the customer. It's kind of a mouthful to say, but a lot of it is put into practice, and it becomes more easier to examine the elements of influential selling that we'll do. Many people offer you advice. My mother-in-law always offers me advice. But do you always listen to it? Think about the people who you do and talk to that influence you. What makes them different? Why do you listen to them and not other people? You probably thought that the characteristic would be reliability, trustworthy, and credibility. But what you're really doing is you're looking for some other characteristic. Think about driving to work today or here. You heard a noise in your car. You don't know what it was, something in the engine, something in the back end. When you go to work, who are you going to ask for that, about that thump that you heard? Are you going to ask somebody that rides a bike to work or somebody that walks to work? Or are you going to go to that part-time mechanic on weekends that has an old car that he works on? You're going to go to that person right there. So what are the main things that makes him have credibility? Knowledge and expertise. That's what builds credibility. So suppose that you have this person, but what kind of proof do you get from them? Well, maybe you heard anecdotes from them, certificates hanging on the wall. He might have taught about a car show that he went to. He might have letter of recommendations. How do you know that all this is true, or he just isn't a really good scam artist at work and he's talking the talk but not walking the walk? What would you do to accept this story? What would you do to trust him? Credibility and a track record is very important. What kind of proof do you need on that track record? What do you need down the line? To trust someone, they have to walk the walk and talk the talk. How do you get that proven track record? Well, possible recommendations that you could do is from articles that they've written, books, or presentations. So when you do the formula together, what brings the keys to influential selling is you got credibility plus trust, and that equals influence. A lot of time people confuse influence with persuasion. We're not persuasive salespeople anymore. We've gone to the level that we know the business of the individuals and we can help drive the business model, and that is what it is. And we develop that credibility and we develop that trust. Using my own today, and it's really sensitive. Our foundation is set by acquiring knowledge and experience and then a track record. We can find those things by building this particular pyramid right here. Keep in mind, the influential advisor target customer is true decision makers or C-level executives, or as sometimes you call it, the mahogany office. Getting in front of those people are the ones that are really important so that your efforts can be directed for the ultimate towards a change. There are some considerations that you got to do to prepare for it. This is really the pyramid you want to go to. If you develop all those prior to the selling, then you might have a better chance when during your presentations. And we talked about networking, and we're going to talk a little bit about this on the speed networking coming up. More times is what all of us need. Same thing when you're selling. I experience that all the time. is that I am set for, hey, I can give you 15 minutes. Fortunately, when you apply this formula, you've got to be prepared for that 15 minutes. And the problem that we used to have in the sales cycle is we used to go in and interview them, find out about their business, how do they do things. Well, we don't have the time for that anymore. We have to prepare prior to that, so when we get in front of them, that we already know their business and we know what they're doing so that we can be able to provide solutions. The other thing is that we all know what an elevator speech is. If you don't have one, it's a good time to prepare it for the networking. We should all have an elevator speech set up. It's a quick pitch we give to somebody unexpectedly that could be a customer. And it comes from the days riding in an elevator. You talk to somebody and they ask, what do you do? Well, you maybe have 15 to 30 seconds to give what your value statement is on there. Any BNI members, you always have 1 minute to give out what your presentation or what you do. So it's very important to have one of those, because you'll need that concept when you go in front of that person, because you got to get what you're there for right off the bat. One of the things that C-level executives, mahogany decision makers need is when you go in, you need the complete solution right off the bat. If you go in and you got to go in, and I'll use this example of buying a flat screen TV. If you know that's probably too big nowadays, too wide. Think about if you bought a TV, you're really excited and you brought it home. You're ready to plug it in and the cord is only 6 feet long and it doesn't reach where you want. So now what you got to go back is you got to go back to the store and buy an extension cord, because maybe they didn't ask the right questions to get you that where are you going to put the TV. So now you've gone back and you come back and you set it up and you find out to plug into your cable outlet you need another cord. So now you go back again and you pick up the cord. We've all been there. Oh, I'm all set. I got the extension cord. I can hook up the cable. Next thing you know, you don't have the cable to plug into your home entertainment solution. So you've gone back and forth. If the consultative selling, that would have been fine. But now an influential advisor would have already planned for that sale to say that, asked the questions or knew ahead of time what kind of product they wanted, where is it going to go, how are we going to use it. A lot of time people get put off when they're trying to sell them all those extra things. But if you do it properly and you know ahead of time, then it's real easy to do that. Keeping in mind that our buyers and executives are concise and offer complete solutions as part of the influential selling, we need to talk the CEO or the decision maker language. People in executive suites don't buy product and services. We used to sell product and services. What they want is they want merits at the technical level. They have people that will be able to handle that. What they want to know is, what can you do to help their business? What matters to the executive is a positive impact your solution will have on the entire organization. Speaking the executive language is speaking terms they understand and things that matter to them. They really could care less how much time is saved on shipping and receiving. They'll let shipping and receiving evaluate that. They want to know what the overall solution for the company and how that helps them. Most levels, it's the bottom dollar. How can you save time and money? Because time is a factor. The influential buyer is consistently selling themselves or herself before the executive decision maker. They will stop and listen to what they have to say, and they must be convinced that they are worthy of their time. To do this, you must establish relationship within the organization long before you start selling to that particular product and service. You've heard me talk about push and pull marketing. Well, this is where you push yourself into the organization with information and added value to establish your own brand, literally branding yourself into what they want and need. The product and services will sell themselves. Brand me is one of your most constant commodity. Every time you have an opportunity, you want to make sure you project that. Let's talk about the first phrase is how to get that we just talked about. The stimulation fee, how much time do I have? I'm right on time. The stimulation phase is about putting substance behind your personal brand. How do you do that? What do you do about it? First of all, know about your company. Do you really know all about your company? When was it founded? Who founded it? Of course, you should be an expert in your product and services. If you're only an expert on your products and services that match the brochure that you hand out, then you really have no value to bring to them because they already know that about you. So what you want to do is you want to go in depth about your products and services. There might be a patent on one individual service that you have. Or you might have something nobody else had. Or at one time I worked for a company that literally the owner 40, 50 years ago invented that press. So that was something that a lot of people didn't know about it, and that brands yourself as, gee whiz, they just don't know the top of it. They really know about their product and services. Point of view is real important. Point of view is, do you know about your company's point of view? Is the delivery have to be a little bit longer than your competition? You have a tendency not to have good customer service. Unfortunately, we would like to have all those great things in there, but you got to know the point of view of where your company is approaching so you can handle that, again, not just with your outside relationships, but with your inside relationships. So that's very, very important down the line. Other way to brand yourself is company historical data. Do you know about your company and the trends down there? It's a good way to establish yourself after you brand yourself that your company's been in business for 38 years. Especially the way the industry changes, we're out of business. Companies are going, you go to the Yellow Pages and you call 4 numbers and maybe roofing and they're all out of business. Marketing material, make sure that you know your marketing material, and your co-workers are very, very important. That within your organization, do you know how your co-workers are going to handle your customers, and you can put that out. How to project knowledge to your customers, references, testimonials, books, publications. Get this stuff out to them. You might read an article about how wood pellets industry is growing. Well, you might take that to a wood pellet company and say, hey, I saw this article. You're showing that you're interested in their company. White papers, you might write something about the industry that would help your customers. And the big thing, breakfast, luncheons, talks, it's another way to brand yourself down the line. Stimulate demand by joining professional organizations, forming professional alliances, and attending seminars is another way we're talking about branding yourself. How can we get that in there? This is by initiating. Now we talked about push marketing. Now we're initiating pull marketing of branding yourself. You're pulling your customer to yourself because you created a demand in yourself. We just touched on this area right here. In the selling cycle, you can enter any area, but what we want to do about branding yourself and talking to yourself. If anybody wanted any other information on this or how to grow your sales, don't hesitate to contact me. I appreciate your time, and thank you very much for having me. Tigers, go Tigers, huh? Exciting about that. I got to get that in. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack.